Are Mexicans really stealing jobs from Americans?
Yes.
There's been a lot of panic among American workers that their job opportunities are being taken by so-called illegal immigrants, especially ones who will work for way less money.
I wouldn't call this panic per se, but it is a legitimate concern.
Now, we all know that not all undocumented immigrants are Mexicans, and obviously not all Mexicans are undocumented.
Don't worry, I'm sure Francesca is going to repeatedly blur the line between legal immigrants and illegal immigrants, and ultimately not answer her question at all.
This came to a head during the 2016 election when now President Donald Trump campaigned on the platform of cutting back illegal immigration by building a border wall between the US and Mexico and creating stricter deportation policies.
Trump wants to reduce illegal immigration and make the border stronger. Oh, what a monster.
But the way Trump talks about immigrants sounds like a horror movie.
Ah, see? Notice she said immigrants, not illegal immigrants.
They're taking our jobs. They're taking our money. They're killing us. Which to that last one, no.
Cute. But according to the US Sentencing Commission, illegal immigrants made up 13.9% of all federal homicide convictions in 2017. So statistically, some are killing us. And let's not forget to mention the thousands of MS-13 gang members in the United States who are not only committing murder and other violent crimes, but are also involved in firearm and drug trafficking and racketeering. Now, some of you might be saying, hey Andrew, there are only 10,000 MS-13 members in the US. It's not a real problem. Aren't you being a little hyperbolic to fit your narrative? Not when compared to the media's outrage and panic towards approximately 3,000 KKK members in the United States, blaming them for the rise of so-called white supremacy under the Trump administration. I've made my point.
There are many complicated reasons why people are unable to immigrate legally. So instead, we'll refer to those immigrants as undocumented instead of demonizing them as illegal.
The term illegal immigrant is taken from the term illegal immigration. And since there's no such term as undocumented immigration, for the rest of this video, I will refer to those immigrants as illegal immigrants.
But let's ask the question, for every undocumented immigrant that gets a job, is a job taken away from an American citizen?
You didn't answer the first question.
Are Mexicans really stealing jobs from Americans?
To help me explain, I've brought along my friend, Mirza Montañez.
That doesn't sound right, Francesca.
If you want to say my name correctly, it's Maritza Montañez.
Mirza Montañez.
But you can just say Maritza Montañez.
Mirza Montañez. Your name is your identity. But when teachers, coworkers, and friends constantly screw it up and don't even try to get it right, that can really change how someone feels about their place in the world.
It's Maritza Montañez.
Mirza Montañez.
Undocumented immigrants make up about 5% of the workforce in America.
According to Pew Research, that's approximately 8 million workers, nearly equal to the population of New York City.
New York City!
And the kinds of jobs that many undocumented immigrants have are, frankly, the physically exhausting kinds of jobs in extreme temperatures that most Americans would rather not do, including me.
Hell, you look like you might get exhausted from crossing the street.
But the reasoning behind this idea that immigrants are taking away jobs from Americans is so common that economists gave it a name. It's called the lump of labor fallacy, which is the false notion that there is only so much work to be done and that no one can get a job without taking one from someone else.
While the lump of labor fallacy can be applied to legal immigration, it cannot be applied to illegal immigration. But they're gonna try anyway.
The problem is that this idea doesn't account for the fact that when immigrants arrive, they don't just increase the number of workers, they also increase demand for lots of other local goods and services. They use the money they earn to rent apartments, eat food, get haircuts, and buy cell phones, which means there's more jobs building apartments, giving haircuts, and selling cell phones. So when more people join the job market, there's a greater need for goods and services.
Again, that might apply to legal immigrants, but illegal immigrants have less money to spend on cell phones, haircuts, food, and apartments, as they tend to send a large percentage of their money back to their native countries. In 2016, migrants from South America and the Caribbean sent back $74 billion to their home countries. Migrants from Mexico alone sent back $28.6 billion, which represents 2% of Mexico's economy.
But maybe right now you're thinking, okay, but what if I really want to work at a farm?
Well, glad you asked, because lots of them are hiring. So, you'll work long hours, get no health insurance, live far away from any friends and family, and make the least amount I can pay you. Can you start Monday?
Shaming farmers. Nice, MTV.
See, 9 out of 10 agriculture workers in California are foreign-born, and more than half are undocumented immigrants.
Let's take a look at those numbers. According to the University of California, in 2016, there were roughly 830,000 agriculture workers. So if 95% of them were foreign-born and half of them were undocumented, that means 394,000 illegal immigrants were hired by farmers. That's more than the entire population of New Orleans.
But cracking down on illegal immigration has actually hurt the American farming industry. This past summer, farmers in California struggled to hire enough workers to harvest their crops.
And the summer before that, and the summer before that, and the summer before that, stories about tougher immigration policies affecting the farm industry are nothing new. Here's one from 2005, 2006, 2007, 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015. But then Donald Trump became the Republican frontrunner for president. Farms will be ruined and there will be massive labor shortages if Trump becomes president. And then he became president. And this is why so many Americans don't trust the media.
But maybe if farms could raise their wages to something more livable, Americans would be lining up in droves to work on them, right?
Well, some farms like this winery in California offer perks like higher wages, housing, benefits, and vacation time. In Napa Valley, the median income for farmers is 40 grand a year.
But many farmers argue it'd just be cheaper and more efficient to turn to robots.
Then why aren't farmers just using robots? Because it's not a thing yet. Instead, many farmers are investing in automation. For example, here's a leaf puller that exposes the right amount of sunlight to grapes used for winemaking. And then this grape harvester that safely removes grapes from the vine. It's faster and requires less human contact.
And overall, it won't be long before most farm workers and, well, many manual workers in general are replaced by machines.
Nope. Of course, fully automating farms would be the best solution because then you wouldn't have to hire any foreign-born or undocumented workers. Thanks in advance, robots. Actually, that probably won't happen in our lifetime, if ever. Overall, farming requires too much manual labor, and automated solutions for every farm commodity do not exist, and possibly never will.
It's projected that 83% of jobs in which people make less than $20 an hour are now or will eventually be automated.
This is referring to a 2016 White House report that cited studies which project that 83% of jobs for lower wage workers could be either replaced or enhanced by automation. But its point was that American education needs to adapt to make workers more tech savvy.
Which is something we really should all worry about because it could fundamentally change the economy.
The lump of labor fallacy is also used to debunk the belief that automation will cause an increase in unemployment, but, nice try. This video is all over the place. First we're talking about illegal immigrants, and now robots?
But what about jobs going to Mexico? Aren't those Mexicans taking our jobs, Maritza?
Well, kinda, but it's less like these guys taking your job and more like these guys giving them your job.
Now we're not even talking about immigration. This is all over the fucking map.
Moving factories to Mexico became easier because of something called the North American Free Trade Agreement, NAFTA. Basically, NAFTA lets
no one needs an economics lesson from MTV Decoded. The reality is that Mexico has become a very attractive place for companies, not just from the US, but from all over the world. Mexicans make as little as 1/10 of what American and Canadian workers make. And while they are paid lower wages, Mexican workers also have a reputation of being more productive, well-educated, and highly skilled. And Mexico has free trade agreements with over 45 countries, so if you're building cars, you could save an additional 10% per vehicle, making Mexico even more enticing.
Trump campaigned against NAFTA as part of his promise to bring back jobs, which you can agree or disagree with.
I agree that he campaigned against NAFTA. Wait, what is there to agree or disagree with? It's poorly written.
He used his position to stir up racism and xenophobia towards Mexican people themselves.
They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists.
It's not xenophobic to want to stop criminals. Having a stronger border will theoretically make it harder to smuggle guns, drugs, and illegal immigrants. Trump's point is that it's impossible to know exactly who is crossing the border if they're crossing the border illegally.
And some, I assume, are good people.
Are some not criminals? Well, technically, if you cross the border illegally, you're committing a crime, but I digress.
But being mad at the Mexican people who take those jobs is kind of weird. For the people in Mexico, taking a job in a factory run by an American car company is no different than an American taking a job at a factory run by a Japanese or German car company.
No different. Do I really have to explain this shit? Let's take General Motors, who are headquartered in the United States. They have factories in 19 countries around the world. 2/3 of all General Motors vehicles are bought by overseas consumers. So it makes sense geographically to have factories in those countries. However, 67% of General Motors vehicles assembled in Mexico are sold back to consumers in the United States and Canada. So yeah, it's very fucking different.
It's a complicated issue. We could talk all day about the many economic policies and laws that
Oh my god, just fucking stop. As always, thanks for watching, and be sure to like and subscribe. I also made a video about illegal immigrants stealing jobs right here, so be sure to check that out, and I hope to see you next time.